Dear viewers, welcome to the show POWERchat, Nepal's only TV talk show in English discussing development since 2016. Through this episode tonight, we are discussing about Nepal-Israel relations with particular focus on Israel's development priorities here in Nepal. And I'm joined tonight by His Excellency Hanan Goder, Ambassador of Israel to Nepal. Let's talk. Welcome to this show, Your Excellency.
Namaste and shalom. Good to be here.
How have you been?
I'm doing lovely. Ram Rocha.
You served here in Nepal back in 2011 as the ambassador. And for last 4 months, you are here in Nepal as the ambassador of Israel. How do you assess the overall development initiative here in Nepal?
I was here in 2011 for 3 years, and now I came back 4 months ago, and I can see great changes. Things are changing, things are shifting in Nepal, and I think that Nepal is on the move. Nepal is in a transition. Nepal has gone, during the last years, through a major change, and it is happening every day. I know that people in Nepal don't notice because you are here all the time. But for me to come after 6 years and to see the changes, it is quite interesting.
How do you interlink the development initiatives of Nepal with Israel, including that of education, agriculture, and other issues?
We have different programs for development and for sharing, for cooperation between the countries. And I think that so far we have sent thousands of Nepalese to train in different aspects of development, or on agriculture, or on health, or education, different subjects, and I think that these programs of development are going very, very well. And our program of development is different than most other countries that do it. When we take people for a training program of 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. They go to Israel, professionals, and we improve their skills in order that they will be able to contribute to the organization, to contribute to the society, to contribute to the companies where they are working. And we see great changes by people because, when you take professionals to Israel and you train them and you expose them not only to Israel, but also to other people that are coming from 20 or 40 other countries in a seminar of 1 month. They are exposed to new ideas and they make the links, and we see the changes. And I think that this is a very good change here.
Well, Your Excellency, before we go into Nepal-Israel relations, I would like to ask you about your observation on the key development challenges here in Nepal, and what are your suggestions addressing them?
This is a very difficult question. I know I'm not an expert on making the changes. I can look at the changes and see what are the things that are happening. But if you look at today, 2021, at Nepal, and if you will look 15 years back, it was a different country with different challenges. And you have opened a new way, a new direction, with a democracy, a flourishing democracy that you have at the moment. And I think that this is going very, very interesting. There are more changes. People only celebrate the constitution, but you have a constitution. I remember during my first term here that there was a dialogue on the constitution, an ongoing dialogue again and again. And at a certain stage, people said, we don't believe that it will be completed. It was completed. And I think that, you have some major changes also in the economy. If you look at the last 10 years of growth, economical growth in Nepal, you have managed to secure 6% growth in the economy. Now, of course, not everybody will see it at the moment. Of course, this is only the beginning of the trend. Of course, there is a long way to go. But at least there is a direction. And in this aspect of showing the direction, I'm an optimistic.
What should Nepal learn from Israel in relations to development initiatives and campaigns?
The history. Israel was established in 1948. And in 1948, I'm not talking about 2,000 years ago. I'm talking about my own parents, my father and my mother. there was shortage in the country. There was almost hunger. People used to get from the government coupons to buy 1 kg of sugar, 1 kg of flour, some pasta and so on. There was almost hunger in the country. And nowadays in Israel, and this is why we want to expose people to see that after making hard work, you can achieve good life. And this is in 1 generation time. But it means hard work, and it means that the country will take itself forward. And maybe you will ask me how we do it.
How do you do it? Please tell us.
The investment should be in 3 aspects. And if I will have to give my recommendation to the Nepali government or to any other government, 3 aspects are the most important. The first one is education. The second one is education. And the third one is education. If you have to invest, this is the major thing that the government should put its balance, its budget, its attention on this aspect of education. And
Your Excellency, what is Nepal in relations to investing in education? Because you're serving here second time, and you stayed here in Nepal for
3 elements of education. The first element of education is in infrastructure. You can't have education without a school, a roof, the chairs, infrastructure of education. And you have done an amazing work on that. The second work is on the curriculum. You cannot teach the children today that they are 6 years old what you were teaching when your grandfather went to school. No way, you have to move forward. And the third element of education is the manpower. The teachers, they are the engine of the future. They are the engine of the economy. They are the engine of the society. You have to select the best teachers to give them the best conditions. And I think all these elements are still under transition. Again, when I was here earlier, some children didn't go to school. And at the moment you see almost 100% of attendance to school. So Nepal is in a transition, and I'm sure that this is going to happen.
So you mentioned that history is something that Nepal should learn from Israel. It was established, created in 1948. How do you see the relationship between Nepal and Israel as such through your statements and the statements of the representatives of the government of Nepal? We often see that Israel and Nepal both maintain cordial relations. Nepal was the first South Asian country to recognize Israel. How do you see the relationship of 2 countries?
The bilateral relations between Nepal and Israel are very good. We have excellent cooperation on trade, on education, on scholarships, on agriculture, with investments. We have signed an agreement on bringing caregivers to Israel, and I really hope that it will start very, very soon. So when you talk about bilateral relations, the relations are very, very good. And the second thing that you talked about, the history. Israel will never forget. Nepal was the first one, and for many years the only country in this part of the world that established relations with Israel. The first prime minister that was elected democratically here, BP Koirala, was very much related to our prime minister, David Ben-Gurion, our first prime minister. And we will never forget that this is the country that was leading the relationship in this part of the world. And that was amazing. By the way, since 1960, when the relations were established, we have excellent visits, excellent cooperation, and we are very, very satisfied with that.
And where is that relation now?
The bilateral relations?
Yes.
Bilateral relations are going very, very well. I mean, in all aspects of cooperation, we really see a great, great progress.
How do you want to see Nepal, in the international platforms in relations to, maintaining relations with Israel?
Now we are talking about the multilateral relations, which is a different aspects of the relations. We believe that the good, cordial bilateral relations should have an effect also on the multilateral relations. When I say multilateral relations, I talk about New York, United Nations, and I talk about Switzerland, Geneva, the Human Rights Committee, and other international forums that we are looking for Nepal to express their friendliness towards Israel also in these organizations.
So your observation is that so far for multilateral relationships, Nepal has not been able to show its commitment to the level that Israel expects today?
I think that we still have a long way to improve the multilateral relations, yes.
What are the areas for improvements?
And on multilateral is mainly how Nepal is voting in international forums. And we think that, how should I say, Nepal should have a better support to Israel in international organizations.
Do you want to see Nepal standing neutral or favoring Israel?
We would like to see Nepal standing next to Israel, supporting Israel, but the minimum that we would like to see is to at least see the neutrality of Nepal in these forums. And I believe it will happen.
Well, Your Excellency, you have been engaged with a lot of development activities with the government of Nepal. You were recently visiting to some places where, through Israeli support, Nepal government is trying to establish Center of Excellence in Agriculture. Could you elaborate that initiative?
As I mentioned, Israel has gone a very long way in development, especially in agriculture. In Israel at the moment, we have a reality where only 2% of the population are engaged in agriculture. And the 2% give food to the 98%. And we even export food. And this is a change that Nepal can obtain, can achieve. But how do we do it? The idea is to establish excellence centers, a demonstration places, a place where the experts are located, and use the modern technologies to do agriculture. It is time that the farmers should understand that agriculture is not a hobby. Agriculture is a business, it's a profession, it's a way of life. You cannot do agriculture the same way that your grandfather was doing 100 years ago. No way. And this is the idea about these centers of excellence. We are talking about 7 centers of excellence in each one of the provinces that will be the core to bring this Israeli technology. And people think about Israeli technology. It is not magic. It is something that is happening and can happen. I'll give you a little example. Irrigation. Israel is well known for irrigation. And I will teach you a new word in English. And this word is fertigation. What is fertigation? It's the combination of irrigation and fertilizer. When you get the irrigation and the fertilizer, you get fertigation. Now, I was traveling through the country. How does the Nepali farmer give the fertilizer? You know this movement. He gives the fertilizer on the ground. This is waste. The Israeli farmer is using the pipe, and the pipe is giving by drops the fertilizer to the plants. And this is what we are going to show, to teach, to demonstrate in these excellence centers. But this is only one item. I'll give you another example. A Nepali farmer, he has 10 cows. The 10 cows will give 10 babies. Which baby cow he will prefer to have? A male or a female? The answer is clear. The female. Because the female can give. In Israel, we have a system that all the baby cows will be female. How? I'm a diplomat. I'm not a farmer. I will. This is why you have to come to the excellence centers and to see how it is working. And then suddenly the farmer can double the production. And I tell you, these are small examples of what you can do with agriculture. Because agriculture is a key, it's a progress for development of the country, and in Nepal it will lead to a major change.
Well, through your interpretation, it is pretty clear that farmers of Nepal are going to benefit through this initiative. What will be the impact of Center for Excellence in Agriculture throughout all provinces of Nepal to the lives of agriculture market and consumers?
I think that the important vision should be that Nepal in the future is going to export food. Listen clearly, and you will see that 10 years from now, Nepal will be the breadbasket of this region of the world. It is possible with your young youth that is very, very capable. You can increase your production, your productivity, and how do I know? I see it. Since I was here during my first tenure, we have sent 3,000 Nepalis on the Learn and Earn program with Sana Kisan Bikas Bank, SKBB. They went to Israel, they spent 1 year in Israel, and they come back to Nepal, and they do agriculture. And they do modern agriculture. And they are the ones that are making the change here, and they are the ones that are increasing the production. So I think, as I said, Nepal is in the middle of transition. You see agricultural tunnels all over the country. You see irrigation. It is beginning in so many districts in the country. You even see fertigation or in several cases of this country. And I think that gradually and very, very fast, Nepal is going to increase its productivity, and we are looking forward, and we will assist it, because the technology in these excellence centers will be Israeli technology.
Well, there is unprecedented impact of the current state of COVID-19 pandemic to all lives and professions. How have you been carrying out your works in Nepal amid pandemic? Any shift into your development priorities at the moment?
Yes, we were part of handling this virus, this pandemic at the embassy, and first we started making the meetings outside in an open air, so it is more secure. Of course, doing all the precautions. We encourage, most of our staff already took the first jab of the dose of the immune. We were also involved in distributing equipment to the hospitals, to the big hospitals here in Kathmandu Valley, to help them with ventilators, with machines that, when you need to work at the intensive care units to improve the level of service, the level of treatment that they are giving. And I know that these donations, this aid is very, very helpful in these centers, in these medical centers. And we are very, very proud to associate with this. You have good doctors in the country. And I know that they are doing magical work. And you know what? Even the rate of people, unfortunately, that die here is quite low. And this is because of the good work of the medical teams here. And actually the drop of the number, and I hope it will remain like this, of the number of people that are infected has gone dramatically down. And I wish that we must all keep being careful, keeping the social distancing, but I think that Nepal has gone a very good way, a long way in handling the virus.
So you have not shifted your development priorities because of the pandemic that you have been engaged with Nepal?
The pandemic is what we call immediate aid for the medical teams and the people that are handling this pandemic in the hospitals. This should be in the short term. In the long term, of course, we have longer cooperation, and as I said, it is mainly these scholarships to train the people in the long run. And by the way, also in this aspect, I can see the change. Since I was here in Nepal in 2011, the life expectancy of Nepal increased by 3 or 4 years. You know, people here in the country don't see it because the changes are gradual. But when you leave and come back and suddenly you see that the numbers have shifted from 67 years life expectancy to 71 life expectancy, suddenly you say it's a change. And believe me, I know that 10 years from now, life expectancy is going further on and it will increase more. Because again, Nepal is in the middle of the transition.
Are you happy with the way Israeli support has been utilized here in Nepal? What are the areas for improvement?
I see great chances of doing more and more things. I would love to see more activities, but I think that what we are doing in different aspects of development is helpful, and we get the feedback. And again, I have the opportunity to meet these people, to meet these scholars. For example, we have a club called the Shalom Club of 2,000 people that went and studied in Israel, and I see how they are doing, and I see how much they contribute. So of course I would love to see that the number of 2,000 graduates increased to 4,000, but it's a slow process, and we will do our best to give more scholarships, more aid, to send more students to Israel, and even to develop this field of caregivers that we just signed a month or two ago to send people to work in Israel, because this is a lovely, lovely opening of cooperation between the countries.
Well, Your Excellency, you are sharing with us very interesting issues, but we are coming to the end of this show. What are your suggestions to the government of Nepal utilizing opportunities of Nepal-Israel relations in terms of bilateral relations, multilateral relations, and development assistance? Plus, if you want to share anything that I have left to ask you, but very quickly.
I will tell you something that is very unique and very special about Nepal-Israeli relations. When Nepalis and Israelis talk, we understand each other with hardly even talking. And why is it so? When a teacher talks to a teacher, they understand. When a doctor talks to a doctor, they understand. What is the relations? What makes Nepalis and Israelis so intimate together? And this is our geopolitical situation. Nepal is a small country between bigger countries. Israel is a small nation surrounded by much bigger countries. The challenges are the same. And when you are a small country, you understand somebody else. And this is why Nepalis understand Israelis so well, and Israelis understand Nepalis so well. You know, when you are standing next to a big elephant and you are a little goat, you have to be careful, because the elephants are not bad. They are not bad. But sometimes the elephant is moving carelessly and affecting you. And this is Israel and Nepal are two goats that understand one another. And as two goats, we are going to continue to have cordial relations and understand each other forever.
Well, Your Excellency, thank you very much for sharing these important thoughts to us. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Dhanyabad. Khushi lagyo.
Dear viewers, time now to wrap up this show. Keep watching us. See you next week. Namaste.